Before this video begins, I would like to give a quick thank you to my Asban Team level patrons Fallon Cortez and Nathan Gibson. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Doctor Who is back in the biggest way possible, with the very well received Star Beast reintroducing the popular pairing of the Doctor and Donna Noble, along with celebrating Doctor Who's 60th birthday. But all this recent talk of multi-Doctor team-ups and anniversary specials got me thinking, what is the worst Doctor Who anniversary special? Well, if you ask any Doctor Who fan, they'll all have the same answer: Dimensions in Time. It's a name that inspires immediate dread in the very soul of fans, a special that has long lived in infamy. For years I've heard tales about this maligned disaster piece, but I had never actually seen it, until now. Yes, I suffered Dimensions in Time, so you don't have to. So join me for a tale of failed ambition, charity, and EastEnders, because it's time for a deep dive into Doctor Who's worst anniversary.
You gotta clear the streets, you're in terrible danger!
So, for some background context, Doctor Who was famously quietly cancelled by the BBC in 1989, forcing producer John Nathan Turner and script editor Andrew Cartmel to scrap all of their ambitious plans for 1990's season 27. The future of Doctor Who was unsure, despite a number of companies approaching the BBC to take over production, with talks of a full-blown movie even taking place, something that would eventually manifest as the 1996 TV movie. Fans, however, were restless, protesting for the return of the show, so by September 1992, BBC higher-ups finally started to pay attention to Doctor Who's rapidly approaching anniversary the following year. Rather than a special episode akin to The Five Doctors, BBC Enterprises instead elected to make a direct-to-video story titled The Dark Dimension, seeing all 5 living Doctors reunite for an ambitious adventure. The Dark Dimension was immediately met with a lot of hype and anticipation until it got cancelled. It's a whole thing and I'll probably make a whole separate video about it. Instead, Nathan Turner was approached by his friend Nick Handel in a separate plan for Children in Need, an annual multimedia charity telethon run by the BBC, featuring guest presenters, musical performances, comedy sketches and special episodes of game shows. Handel was one of the organisers of 1993's Children in Need, wanting JNT to write a sketch to recognise the milestone of Doctor Who's 30th year since its first episode. However, Nathan Turner had little to no writing experience, so he worked with aspiring screenwriter David Roden to create Dimensions in Time. Dimensions in Time was broadcast the night after Children in Need as part of Noel's House Party, a live entertainment show hosted by Noel Edmonds, a show that also saw the emergence of the eldritch horror known as Mr. Blobby. Seriously, you can't convince me this monstrosity wasn't lurking deep in the mind of H.P. Lovecraft himself. This particular edition of Noel's House Party sees John Pertwee show up in semi-character as the Third Doctor, with a chilling warning for the UK public.
I've seen you in the year 2010.
Oh.
You're still on television.
The Doctor has arrived to watch his own adventure somehow, but something's missing here, something's not right.
You'll need a pair of these.
Oh, will I?
These are the new 3D specs that
Well,
you've got to
thank you
wear
so
for
much.
this.
Oh hey, I've got one of those too. Huh. Guess mine needs a bit of a software update. Yeah, Dimensions in Time was filmed in 3D to push that year's gimmick of the pole French effect, allowing people to watch something in 3D without ruining the image for 2D viewers. So luckily, we don't need this piece of crap. Yeah, I guess that's why it's called Dimensions in Time, because it sends us back to a time where people actually thought 3D was going to be interesting. Dimensions in Time opens with the Rani having captured the heads of the first and second Doctors. Hey wait, I've seen this one before.
Form gun is 3D, rotating.
Yeah, the nightmares still plague me. This 3D rotating head idea came as the only real way to represent all 7 Doctors in the episode whilst maintaining the 3D nature of the episode, and as creepy as they look, it does get the point across. Originally the villain of the episode was going to be the Master, because you know, he's the go-to when it comes to these things. However, actor Anthony Ainley turned the offer down, so JNT went for the next best thing, the Rani. It's interesting to note that her assistant Cyrian was actually originally meant to be played by Sir Ian McKellen, but the well-established actor turned it down, which wasn't just dodging a bullet, it was dodging a whole nuke. However, as bad as Dimensions in Time is, you do have to respect how they managed to recreate a TARDIS interior. The old console room set had accidentally been junked after season 25, so they actually turned to Doctor Who fans for help, using a new set built for the Panopticon 1993 convention, being paired with the TARDIS console from the 5 Doctors. So, as cobbled together as it is, we actually get a proper TARDIS interior here, and it's a bit of a fan victory. It's just a shame it was used for this. One of the most infamous elements of Dimensions in Time is the horrible new version of the Doctor Who theme. Originally, GNT wanted the Pet Shop Boys to make a theme. They said no. Erasure then offered their services, but it was too late. So instead, GNT used a demo tape sent by a fan and just... wow, it's bad. After the credits, the 4th Doctor appears, Tom Baker almost literally phoning in his performance, standing on a green screen and literally reading his lines off a script because he wasn't happy with his role, and JNT compromised with this Mayday broadcast. It's so bad. And what even is this background? It looks like he's inside Shrek's veins. Ew, it's gross. Get out of here, it's making me dizzy. All of this Doctor theft is part of the Rani and Syrian's mission to collect a menagerie of different species from the Doctor universe, with only a human needed. But it doesn't really matter much. Anyway, the Rani blast the TARDIS with a laser orb, forcing the 7th Doctor and Ace to materialise in the wrong place and time. I guess it's the logical place to start given that this was the most recent pairing, so it creates a sense of being in the current place of the timeline. And of course, it is nice to see the Doctor and Ace again, 4 years after their last appearance. However, suddenly the 7th Doctor becomes the 6th Doctor through some shenanigans, and then they arrive in Albert Square. Wait. What? Yes, Handel wanted the sketch to include something that generated a lot of publicity, with JNT then pitching the idea of setting it in Albert Square, the main location of BBC's successful soap opera EastEnders, the show which, ironically, kind of played a role in killing Doctor Who to begin with. Anyway, as the Doctor and his companions change form constantly, they discover they're in different periods of Earth's history.
Madam, what year is this?
2013!
Not with those haircuts it ain't. And I wish we could have fancy future trains. Maybe we would if they didn't sink over 20 billion quid into HS2. All these Doctor and companion changes are so sudden and random, it just becomes a bit disorientating and pointless. It was like they just wanted to squeeze everyone into the story somehow, so big moments like the Doctor meeting Susan again are glossed over and don't mean anything. And there were even plans to involve even more companions, with Katie Manning, Mary Tam and Janet Fielding all hoping to appear but unable to. Fraser Hines was also unable to take part because of scheduling issues with Emmerdale, the same reason he didn't have significant roles in the previous 2 anniversaries either. You know what, I'm kind of starting to think that might be an excuse, like when your girlfriend suddenly gets a headache when you suggest watching Time Lash. The narrative of Dimensions in Time doesn't even make any sense. Why is this happening? Are the companions the same person? Are they individuals? They seem to be both, and it's so confusing. The characters just keep walking up and down the street talking nonsense about time loops.
Blundering fools. They're getting too near the truth.
What truth? What's going on? I'm confused. Just bring me Pudsey. I want to go home. It's then that the Rani unleashes a bunch of Doctor Who monsters on Albert Square, with Cybermen and Ogrons slowly and unmenacingly chasing after the Doctor. At least the pub still looks normal for a Saturday night in London. A lot of these monsters are again thanks to fans having their own rescued props or outfit recreations. So again, I guess the fans are partly to blame for this mess. The big cliffhanger of part 1 is the Doctor, Perry and Nyssa trying to run away, only to come face to face with the worst enemy of them all, a small gate with a padlock on it. Oh no, the horror, how will they ever survive?
This is the Lockpicking Lawyer.
A big gimmick for Dimensions in Time was the idea of users phoning in to resolve the story, something obviously intended to raise more money for children in need. Originally, these were going to be big changes like the Brigadier saving the day, all the Doctors joining forces, or the Doctor forging a telepathic link with the Rani, but then they thought, nah, f that. So instead it was which EastEnders character saving the Doctor. I mean, as dumb as it is, it clearly worked, raising over 100,000 quid, so good for them I guess. The actual resolution though is just the character telling the Rani to stop and then running away, so you know, it's not exactly Baldur's Gate over here. The big resolution of this cliffhanger is the Doctor just telling Rani, No. And suddenly Liz Shaw and Mike Yates show up with the Doctor escaping in Bessie. So what was the point in all the monsters? But hey, don't question that. Here's the Brigadier. Clap, you know who he is. And admittedly, it does finally pair the 6th Doctor and the Brigadier, since every other Doctor had met him in at least one TV story. So yeah, it's good to see them finally interact, even if it is very brief.
I'm finding it very difficult to keep up with all of you these days, Doctor.
Finally, we end up in Greenwich, where the Rani is trying to control evolution or something. Out comes Leela wearing this awkward Native American costume, which was a very short notice replacement for the original skimpy outfit Louise Jameson refused to wear if she was to return. Also, I still don't understand how the companions are changing form though. It doesn't make any sense, even with Doctor Who's usual technobabble. And then suddenly Leela becomes Ace again. I don't know, I've given up trying to understand this stuff. All the Doctors do a big mind meld thing, and K9 suddenly shows up to help set off some firecrackers around the Rani's TARDIS, sending her into the same trap she set for the Doctor. Yeah. That's all, folks. Get your gift bags on your way out. There's nothing good in there, just licorice sweets and bitter disappointment. God, Dimensions in Time is bad. It's irredeemably bad on every level. The plot makes absolutely no sense. The EastEnders crossover is pointless and cringeworthy, the constantly shifting Doctors and companions is dizzying, and the monsters are so badly integrated. It's annoying because earlier plans were actually pretty promising. The original script saw the 7th Doctor and the Brigadier battling against a crashed spaceship, trapped in a burning church as they try to fight off the Cybermen. Another concept would have had the return of the Celestial Toymaker in a story named The Endgame, where the Doctors battle against the Toymaker in an amusement park, probably taking inspiration from the unmade story The Nightmare Fair. But Children in Need insisted on the EastEnders crossover, and that's where things really fall flat. Because it has no direction and no cohesion. It's just a bunch of characters walking up and down a street with bad effects, bad music, bad acting, and the 3D stuff is gimmicky and limits what the story can actually do. Any Doctor companion reunion is wasted, and there's just no sense of heart to it. I think GNT would much rather have gone out with a widely fan-liked season 26 instead of this complete disaster. When people compare Dimensions in Time to the Star Wars Holiday Special, they're not joking. It really is that bad, and it basically insults the memory of Classic Who. It's so low budget and disgracefully awful. Somehow each part pulled over 13 million viewers, but almost thankfully all actors and crew waived their right to be paid as long as Dimensions in Time would never be repeated or sold on video, DVD, or even as an extra on a home media release. So you don't have to worry about it sitting in your collection. I can confidently say Dimensions in Time is the worst single piece of Doctor Who media ever created. Do not watch it, even out of mild curiosity. Never subject yourself to this horrific waste of time, resources, and actors. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go cleanse myself in a bath full of the finest concentrated cleaning product. It will be a much more comfortable experience. So thank you very much for watching if you still are, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And I'd just like to thank my Asbantium level patrons, Fallon Cortez and Nathan Gibson, my Diamond level patron Glenna Clark, my Platinum level patrons Maximilian Foreman and Nick Games, and all my Gold level patrons Boots, Daniel Shilato, Franz Orne, Line Vortex, Robert Hock, and Tom Azar. Thank you so much for your support.